What up, everybody? I'm Dave Miranda, and this is episode 42 of Just Give Me 5. I hope you guys are doing well, continue to be amazing. We finally got a nice, gloomy, rainy day here in Phoenix, Arizona. You know, it's enough of the sun. I mean, if you've been out here, if you're from here, you've been living here long enough, you've experienced the heat, you know exactly why I feel so happy about this. So, man, it means good weather's coming. Good weather is definitely coming. Yo, I got to give a shout out to my man, Tony Baker. You know, I copped one of his tees right here, man, to support. He's got so many dope, you know, just a dope lineup in his merchandise, man. And Tony is just somebody who's really been keeping everybody sane throughout this pandemic. You know, just nothing but love and respect to my man, Tony. And can't wait to have him on the show someday also. So, all right, man. But if you guys caught episode 41, you saw we had my man Cash Lansky on. And let me tell you, I love that guy. You know, and it's somebody that I've known for a real long time. He's been putting in work in the Tucson scene for many, many years now. And I actually had him on my Dave's World album. We did a record on there that was super dope. And just a solid individual, man. Very happy to have him on the show. Make sure you guys watch episode 41, and nothing but love and respect to my brother Cash. All right. But today's guest is someone who has been running the Flagstaff hip-hop scene for numerous years now, and someone I've personally known since the MySpace days. We're gonna talk about how he came up with his name. We're also gonna talk about his group, the Boombox Brothers, and everything he's got going on as well out there in Flagstaff. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present to you, Mic Hogg.
What's up, y'all? It's Mic Hogg, and all I'm saying is just give me 5. Well, music was always part of my life. In my house growing up, my father, he would listen to a lot of gospel, a lot of Motown, Smokey Robinson, The Temptations was one of his favorite bands, a lot of Michael Jackson. You know, this was like the soundtrack of my house growing up. You know, being from a very religious background, he would play a lot of music that would have been considered secular to Christian people, but it had that vibe like soul music so that was basically the soundtrack of my life, was that. So as I grew up and I found singing as a hobby, as a pastime, I would just sing, you know, in my room, into my mirror. I would do the Michael Jackson with the glove on and the whole bit, and I would try to mimic the moves and for me, I just knew that music was something that was always going to be a part of me. Right. But it wasn't until later on in life when I started to really struggle and I started to be in and out of group homes and jails that I found rap music, and I started to really like the essence of the stories that they would tell, because it was something that I felt in my life. So using my background in music and soul and poetry and things like that, I combined it all together and just started writing. Right. It wouldn't be probably another 4 or 5 years before I actually made songs, but I knew from a very young age that music was a big part of my life. It was always there. It was my comfort. I would sing. I would listen to my favorite songs. I have a list of favorite songs that's higher than the Billboard 100. So, you know, people always ask you, what's your favorite song? And I stump because I couldn't even tell you. I have so much music that's inspired me. So it's always been a part of me. That's the simple and complex answer. So technically, I didn't actually come up with the name Mic Hogg. It was actually given to me because somebody called me that in the context of being a microphone hog. Prior to that, I would go under the name Anonymous, an acronym, ANYMS, and don't ask me what it stood for because I could not remember. So I was at my friend Glad to Meet's house, and we were chilling. We were getting ready to smoke. He was making a beat, and we were rolling one up. Yeah. And I was on the table using my ID to roll it up and get it all in. And then he's like, okay, nobody start writing to this beat until this beat's finished. And I was like, okay, cool. And he starts with the drums, and he starts with the sample, and it's a fire beat, you know? And so, of course, I just start writing. He gets down to finishing the beat, and he's like, okay, what are we gonna write about? And I was like, hey, yo, I wrote this verse. Let me spit it for you guys. And he goes like, no, I told you we were gonna write after the beat was finished. He's like, you're such a Mic Hogg. And lo and behold, my ID was sitting right there on the table, and I look at it, and my birth name is Christopher Michael Hogg. It's pronounced Hogg, but it's spelled H-O-G-G-E. Okay. And I looked right at my ID and I saw Mic, M-I-C-H-O-G-G, in my name. And I showed it to him and I said, I am a Mic Hogg. I was like, I was born that way. Wow. And from that point on, I called myself Mic Hogg, and I've never looked back, you know. Ultimately, it was inspired by my good friend Mike Cosentino from the Drunken Immortals, because he goes under the name Mike Cos. So I always thought that that was cool that his name, his rap partner Brad Bowman, they use their real names as their stage name. So I always found that to be, you know, very, you know, cathartic, if you would, that I had my real name embedded in my rap name, you know, always was there. The transition from Phoenix to Flagstaff was ultimately out of necessity. I wasn't necessarily living anywhere in Phoenix when I was first coming up in the hip-hop scene. I was relatively homeless from time to time, crashing on couches and things like that. So I would, you know, to catch extra jobs and extra money, I would do flyering and things like that. And that's actually what got me into the scene, was flyering for UM and Ty Michael Carter, the TMC's Entertainment. Like, I would pick up flyers from trails before they even like brought me on, and would just do it myself. So ultimately, I didn't really have a foundation here of my own. So when it came time for me to start building my own foundation, I had friends that were living in Flagstaff. The dude who ended up producing 2 of my albums, my boy DJ Destroy, Troy Thurman, he was living up there already. So it was an easy transition for me. I went up there, we started working on music together. You know, a couple years went by after throwing shows, we would start to do bigger shows. And that took notice from like Doug Quick, who ended up moving up there. He saw what we were doing when he moved up there, and we just kind of built that foundation. I ended up staying up there, but it was my time in Phoenix that really solidified my transition to Flagstaff. Had I not spent that time down here pressing flesh at Blunt Club and Wet Paint and the spots that, you know, I came up in, you know, the Brick House and, you know, Ice House, at some of those raves where they had like the bomb shelter DJs would be there. Like, I knew everybody from all the different scenes, because I was, you know, a vagrant. So I would travel from West Phoenix to Tempe to Scottsdale to all the different shows, and I ended up meeting pretty much everybody involved. So moving to Flagstaff, people were just like, oh, you live there now. Like, book us a show up there. Yeah. So it ended up being that moving to Flagstaff is the only reason why I continue to maintain relevancy, I think, in Arizona hip-hop, because as most people know, it's pretty well saturated in the Valley. So like, in order to find really that niche, to find my spot in it, I just moved up there and I never looked back. But all my ties down to Phoenix are what built that foundation. So I'm glad that I could bring people up. I mean, I brought, you know, Dave up. I brought, you know, pretty much everybody that I've known over the last 10 years has come up to do a show in Flagstaff, because I'm up there, you know. So I have connections with the venues. So it just builds the Arizona hip hop scene bigger. Like, you know, the boys down at Thunder Canyon and Run down of Tucson, like it builds the whole scene. So we have Tucson, Phoenix, Flagstaff, like locked as a scene, not just one city. So I feel like it was a necessary step to really lock the whole state down. Someone had to do it. I just never thought that it was going to be me. I just left and fell into it. I kept rapping and they were like, kept putting me on stage. So, so I feel like right off the bat, my most memorable moment ever in my whole entire 20 years of being involved in hip hop would have, in Arizona specifically, but would have to be KRS-One. It was a show that I'd worked in partnership with Justice, actually, from Respect to Underground. And we kind of built this show that nobody really kind of asked for. And KRS-One comes out, and of course, obviously, anybody who's anybody in hip-hop knows that KRS-One is like a founding member of hip-hop. So there was a moment when I was on stage when me and my buddy Smalls were rapping, and I was doing my thing and we were getting it, we were right in the hype, and I look over and I see KRS-One in the crowd, like throwing his hands up, like these guys are what's up. And then I swear I watched a guy walk up to him and ask him a question that was inaudible, and he was like, he was like, you should be paying attention because this is the jam right now.
Nice.
Right then and there, I almost fainted on stage. I was like, KRS-One is telling another person to be quiet and listen to what's going on stage right now. I was like, I've arrived. I mean, even though it means nothing to the onlooker, but for me, it was like, that was number one. I think number two would be my sweaty hug from Tretch from Naughty by Nature. He came up and they did a whole show at the green room, and I helped them facilitate their VIP line and all that. And he came down at the end of the night and he was like, you're the guy that's been helping everybody get in. He's like, you're the dude that opened, right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, come on up. And of course we chilled, and he gives me this big old sweaty shirtless hug because he doesn't wear a shirt. That dude's jacked. So I was like, yeah, man, I got a sweaty hug from Tretch. And then I would have to say my third moment would be the moment that Flagstaff decided that hip hop was something they would do again. Because for a long time, hip hop had a bad taste in Flagstaff. There was a lot of knifings and shootings. A lot of the same problems that happened here in Phoenix in the 2000s had kind of made their way up to Flagstaff, and that town was just like, no, it was like the footloose city. They were like, we will not have hip hop here. I mean, I feel like the Drunken Immortals might even still be banned from the Monte Vista. That might be a rumor. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Right. But things got crazy up there, and they didn't really want hip hop. But me and my crew and my friends and Doug Quick and the people who kind of persisted, Matt Ziegler with his festivals, we just kind of persisted, and we kept bringing that good vibe, and they let us do hip hop again. And not only that, but we did a CD release party at the Harkins Theater. We've played every venue there. Opened up for every hip hop act that's been there for the last, 6 or 7 years. Yeah. So I think that's my third best moment outside of meeting people, is that I was part of bringing hip hop back to Flagstaff, Arizona. So that was huge for me. Well, I'm elated is really the only word that I can use to describe it, because it makes me feel a joy that it resonates with me every day. It's what helps me get up in the morning. It's what helps me with my workouts. It's what helps me when I'm parenting my children. I'm sitting down on the boards to make a new song. I think about the people that it's inspired. I have people come up to me all the time that are like, you have no idea that you inspired me, but you did. And those words right there, they resonate with me every day. I try to hold that as like myself to a standard, you know what I mean? So that way when I know people are watching what I'm doing, I know that I can be that example that they look up to. And sometimes we give ourselves that air to kind of be arrogant about it, but I feel like everybody has to have a little bit of that ego to kind of push them to be like the person that's not walked on, to be the person that's not taken advantage of. Like, that's that positive ego that we feed ourselves with, not that negative ego, that positive ego that drives us to be like, people watch this and people are gonna be inspired by this, so I gotta put my best foot forward. And I think in the context of hip hop, that's that talk it, walk it, live it, be it mentality. Like, so if I'm that inspiration, then I gotta be that when I'm a dad, when I'm in the studio, when I'm on stage, and I'm at the grocery store. So a lot of times over the years, I've had issues with other artists and situations where I've just kept my cool and tried to be the best me I could be, because letting that get to you is what lets that get to that point of negativity, and that's when that negative ego gets you. So I feel like it helps me keep my ego in check, it helps me stay humble, and it helps me just be a better person knowing that I'm inspiring somebody somewhere. That's ultimately at the end of the day what I think everybody wants to do, is be a positive example for people, whether it's in a negative way, like, because that happens too, but just being that positive force for somebody, even if it's somebody that you don't know, you can't even see them, and they've never said anything to you. So that makes me feel like elated. That's my word, is because it's like just an overwhelming amount of joy that forces me to be a better person in a way. Recently in my life, I had something happen to me where I was in a situation where I had to get a new piece of equipment to do. I think you saw on the Instagram, I had that mini GoFundMe to help me try to get a computer, because my computer had like blown up and I didn't have the funds. Oh. And one of the people who sent me a message like literally financed the whole thing, and I was completely blown away. Like, when I saw it in my PayPal, I was like, whoa, like, and I called him and I was like, bro, did you mean to send me that much money? And when he did, he was like, yeah, man, he's like, but I want to let you know the reason why I did it isn't because you asked me for it. He's like, because there has been times throughout my whole career where you have done things for me that have made my life better and easier, and you didn't even know that it affected me. He's like, and you still did it. He's like, without hesitation, without thinking about it twice, because you knew that it was the right thing to do, and it affected me in a way that changed my life. He's like, and I now finally have an opportunity to do that for you. He's like, and I've waited 10 years to do that for you. And I was crying on the phone with my buddy, dude, like grown-ass man crying, because I was like, dude, like it touched me so much that I had affected his life that much that he was willing to just finance my whole project because he was waiting for an opportunity to do that for me. And like, that just, it was like, it speaks to everything that you were saying right there about that meme and that last question. Absolutely. Like, that's the reason why I do it. I don't do it because there's a big payoff someday or there's a paycheck waiting in the wind. Like, I do it because it's who I am. Yeah, it's who I am. And I'm always going to be like, yeah, let's do that. Like, even if I won't see the effects directly, you know, that's that good ripple effect, that pay it forward, you know? Shout out my man, Mr. Miranda, you know, actually, for reals, because I've actually known that dude longer than anybody else in the hip-hop scene, because I actually met him on MySpace before I was rapping, and I feel like it might have been right when he had started. So, like, I feel like we were friends before there was, like, a hip-hop connection. That's true. So, shout out to Mr. Miranda and everything he's doing. Shout out to Just Give Me 5. Shout out to my crew, Boombox Bros, Smalls, and Justin. You guys know what's good, DJ 001, we're coming. And shout out to all of my family members, everybody that's showed love to me, my man Tui, who's done tracks with us. Shout out to, man, there's just so many people to name. Shout out to my man Thurston, who helps me do videos. Shout out to my man Jasper, who's my man in the sand all the time doing things with the videos and helping me learn how to edit. You know, shout out to my man Cool Hands Luke, keeping the scratches fresh. Shout out to Kip Killigan, the mayor of Flagstaff. Can't forget that dude. Like, I wouldn't even be here right now if it wasn't for him, true. And Kings of the Jungle and everything they've done for me, Jake. My mom, my dad for still supporting me even though they don't understand this. And, you know, it's been 20 years and let's give them 20 more.
And there you have it. Man, nothing but love and respect to my man Mic Hogg. You know, somebody, I'm telling you, somebody that I've known for many, many, many years, at the start of my journey pretty much. And, you know, always been a stand-up dude, you know, and just a real great human being, man. We're real happy to have him on the show. Make sure you guys are following him on social media. Shout out to my brother Jimmy Nelson on that camera. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend. All right. Well, this was another great episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And till next time, stay tuned, stay blessed, stay healthy, and just give me 5, y'all.